Hello crafters, this is Yana Smakula for SimonsSTM.com. Welcome back for another Yippee for Yana episode. In this video, I'm creating adorable Valentine's Day cards that are sure to bring a big smile to the face of the recipient. These cards can be given to all of your loved ones, including family and friends. All supplies I'm using for this project are listed and linked in the video description below for your convenience. If you're looking for a link for a specific product that I used, you can check there. The cards that I'm creating are all made using just one stamp set, the Love Day set from Simon Says Stamp. Now it is a smaller 4x6 set, but it has everything you need to create cards. You have several adorable critters. There's a cat, a bunny, and a dog, all holding some object for Valentine's Day, either a heart or a little gift. And you have loads of sentiments, including some pretty large sentiments that can easily take center stage on your card. There are coordinating dies available for you, and these cut nearly everything in this set, including the large size sentiments. The cards I have for you today are all very simple. They require very little, very basic coloring, and this is a good beginner project. If you're new to card making, this is tutorial for you. We're going to start by stamping the images first. For this, I'm using a mini Misty stamping tool. Although you can stamp these using a clear block, you don't have to use the Misty, but the Misty does make this stamping job a lot easier. I'm going to stamp every critter twice, as I want to cut out parts of each critter and pop them up on the finished cards on the main critters to add dimension and interest. I'm also going to stamp loads of hearts. There are 3 size hearts in this set, and I will use those hearts as little embellishments on the finished cards. I won't be adding any other extra embellishments, no sequins, no gems, just the little hearts. I'm doing my stamping on the Simon Says Stamp 130-pound cardstock. This is my favorite paper for stamping and coloring with Copic markers. This paper is very smooth and it is very thick. It is a pleasure to create on. I also like the Simon Says Stamp 120-pound cardstock. It is a little bit lighter, but just as good. As for the ink, I'm stamping images with the Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink today, as it is a Copic marker friendly ink, and I will be using Copic markers, which are alcohol markers, to do my coloring. I also used a clear block and stamped some additional hearts anywhere on the panel where I had any room left. It was just easier here to use a clear block, as I could rotate the images and nestle them in the little areas available on the panel. Next, we need to color our images. I'm all about doing very simple coloring, something that is easy and approachable and doesn't feel intimidating. I will color all of my critters light gray. Each critter is holding a heart or a gift, and that will be colored bright red. And I don't want the coloring of the critter to take attention away from the heart or the gift or whatever it is they're holding. Hence why I'm using the light gray colors here for the critters. I start with the W5, next use W3, and blend everything with the W1 marker. I add the darkest color, the W5, along the left and right sides of the critter and apply lighter colors towards the center. I'm also using the R20 marker to color the inside of the ears, the nose, and even to add a little bit of blush onto the cheeks. I'm coloring this heart here using a solid R20 color, but I will color another heart that will go directly on top of this one using several shades of red to add shading. I'm coloring this one using just one color, as it is going to go underneath the other, underneath the main heart, so it will be covered for the most part. You can skip coloring it and leave it blank white, but when you'll be looking at your card from the side, you will be able to see this heart, at least a little bit. And because I don't want that to look white, I am using a light red to color it. Now this heart is going to be my main one. I will cut it out, I'll fussy cut it, and I will pop it on top of the critter that I just colored. So I'm not going to color the critter again. Instead, I am just coloring the heart here. Here I'm using the R27, R24, R22, and R20 markers to create some shading to the right-hand side of the heart and add dimension with my coloring to this heart. I also need to color the little paws, and so I do that with the same colors, the W5, W3, and W1 markers. I use the same marker colors and the same approach to color the rest of the images that we stamped. So we have 3 critters, and I will create 3 cards. You can mix the critters and have several critters on one card. You can have a cat holding a large heart and then a dog holding a heart-shaped balloon, and so on. So you can mix and match. You can even have all 3 critters on one card. Completely up to you. I'm going to use my coordinating dies to cut these out, and I'm also going to fussy cut the additional images that I colored. For this, I cut right up to the edge of the black stamping. I use my scissors for that. I don't want to leave any white border around this image, so I cut right up to the edge. It helps to hold the scissors pretty steady with one hand and move the paper with the other hand instead. So I'm not moving the scissors, instead I'm moving the paper. This way, I have a much cleaner cut. Having cut all of these out, I'm going to foam mount them onto my critters, and that adds instant dimension to these images. How adorable are they? I just love the way these turned out. Okay, the next step is creating a little scene for our critters. I'm all about making things simple, and for these cards, I'm going to dot a scene. You can use your dies or your stencils or even some of your other stamps to create a scene for these little darlings. But I wanted these cards to be very simplistic, so I used my Copic markers and I simply dotted a little bit of grass and a little bit of sky, and that's all these critters need. It's super simple, it's super easy to do. All you need is just a few colors of markers. Here I'm using YG03. This is a nice green grassy color, and I just add a bunch of dots onto the background mimicking grass. I'm not drawing anything, I'm just basically dotting. I'm adding dots of color. You can use several colors if you want to add color variation to your grass. I used YG01 and YG17 to add lighter and darker dots. And I also used the B000 marker to dot in the sky. And I tried to have more dots closer to the horizon line and fewer dots as we moved further away from the horizon line to the top. Super simple, anyone can do this, and look how effective and how fun that looks. Next, we need to stamp a sentiment, and here I went back to my Misty stamping tool. I picked out several sentiments for this card, and I stamped them all in VersaFine ONYX black ink, which is a very nice dark black color. So I have my one main sentiment and then a sub-sentiment. Now this ink is my all-time favorite ink for stamping sentiments. I also added another little sub-sentiment, and you have loads of different message options in this stamp set, allowing you to mix and match them and create all sorts of cards with different messages on them. All that's left to do now is to assemble. Now, whenever I create cards with adorable images like these critters, I try to add some sort of movement to the critters. I try to animate them. The easiest way to do that is by using a little wobble spring. Here I have a mini wobble spring, and it is the perfect size to animate my critters. The way you use it is you adhere one end of the wobble spring onto the critter, and these springs come with the adhesive, so you don't need to use any adhesive from your stash. And then you adhere the other end of the wobble spring onto your panel, press down to make sure the adhesive grabs to the paper, and then just like that, you have an animated character in your card. Cards like this always produce the biggest smile on the face of the recipient, and people love to play with these wobblers regardless of their age. I also foam mounted a couple of hearts that we stamped and colored earlier. Like I said, I didn't want to add any additional embellishments here. Instead, I just used the die cut hearts for that. Now, because I was making Valentine's Day cards, I decided I would create red card bases for these cards. I cut a red cardstock to 5.5 by 8.5 inches and scored the panel at 4.25 inches to create an A2 side folding card base. Now, to make it easier to write my message on the inside, I adhered a white cardstock panel. I cut it about 1/2 inch smaller to have a little bit of the red border show on the inside. Next, I used several panels of scrap cardstock. I have 4 panels here, and I adhered them together to create one dimensional panel to pop my main panel onto the card. You can use fun foam for that, or foam adhesive, or foam tape. I have loads of this scrap cardstock that I can't really use for anything else, so I am utilizing it to add dimension to my cards. I finished the other 2 cards in the same way, and here you can see all 3 projects with the animated Valentine's Day characters. I hope you'll give this idea a try. If you make a card inspired by this video, we'd love it if you shared your project online and tagged us on social media. We always enjoy seeing what you make. Thanks so much for joining me today. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.